Hello, welcome back to the channel, Forensic Element. This is going to be part 2 of the series in the Forensic Master List. Stay tuned. Okay, we're going to be moving directions now. We're going to be focusing on the second section of this Master List, Forensic Master List. I like to call it as a broad term, biology and human identification. This is going to be the next 5 terms we go over are going to fit into that umbrella. So number 6 is DNA profiling. This is usually defined as the analyzing of genetic material to help identify individuals with near certainty. You always want to leave that room for other, checks and balances, other information, other analyses, but DNA is one of the strongest forms of forensic evidence and one of the most reliable, which is why it's helping to lead to a lot more convictions and solving of crimes in the more recent days and years. A real life example of DNA profiling would be the Golden State Killer case, Joseph DeAngelo. He was caught in 2018, actually, when DNA from crime scenes in the 70s and 80s, when the DNA was matched through genealogy databases. So, they compile genetic profiles, and they have them in a database and somewhere, and then they could use them as reference when they need to, and sometimes they get hits, which is what happened in the Golden State Killer case. So that's number 6. Let me know your thoughts below on any further thoughts or anything you find interesting about that type of forensic evidence. All right, number 7 on our list, lucky number 7, is going to be mitochondrial DNA. So this is a little more specific than just DNA by itself or DNA profiling. Mitochondrial DNA actually refers to DNA passed from mother to child. This is useful when nuclear DNA is degraded or absent. So nuclear DNA is more used in DNA profiling, but mitochondrial DNA is more specific from mother to child. A real life example of this type of evidence would be when mitochondrial DNA helped to confirm the remains of Tsar Nicholas II and his family, which were executed in 1918 and discovered decades later. So it's a bit more specific, but it can show you why DNA evidence and the pioneering of more forms of DNA evidence and continuing down that route of genetics is going to be very useful in the future as well for forensic science. All right, number 8, moving right along, is going to be forensic anthropology. So it's a bit of an intersect between another form of science, anthropology, intersecting with forensics. This is going to be the study of skeletal remains to determine identity, cause of death, and trauma or possible trauma involved. A real life example would actually be September 11th. After 9/11, forensic anthropologists went in and examined bone fragments, which helped identify some of the victims when full bodies could not be recovered. So 9/11 was memorialized, we remembered it a couple days ago, but what a crazy case. There's tons of forensic analyses going on there, but as it relates to biology, that's one thing that was used to help identify victims. All right, number 9 is another intersect, which you'll find a lot in forensics. There's a lot of intersect between other sciences. Is forensic odontology. Now this is going to be obviously the use of dental records or bite marks actually for help identifying victims or perpetrators of the crime. So using dental records or bite marks for identification, basically. In the case of, Ted Bundy and his murders, Ted Bundy's conviction actually relied heavily on bite mark evidence found on one of the victims that matched Bundy's unique dental pattern. That's pretty wild to me that, they were able to, that was a key piece of evidence. And I remember watching a few documentaries on that and how they could narrow down with, a pretty good degree of certainty who a bite mark or bite mark pattern, just like a fingerprint, who it's connected to, who it's from, because there are a lot of details. And yeah, that's an important one. That's involved in a lot of cases. As you would expect, if somebody's being attacked, they can leave bite mark evidence. Sometimes attackers will bite, which is weird, but Ted Bundy was one of those. So that's number 9. Let me know if you know of any other cases where that was used, because it's a kind of a more rare one, I would say, but it happens. All right, number 10, which is a very interesting one, kind of using technology, advances in technology to further this type of forensic science, is going to be facial recognition. Sorry, mistake. Facial reconstruction. So that's going to be rebuilding a person's facial features from their skull, actually, using forensic artistry or digital modeling. This is definitely something that's being improved upon, pioneered, and so it could be a more reliable piece of science. But a real-life example would be the skull of an unknown woman in the UK was reconstructed in 2009. This led to her eventual identification as a missing person. So you never know when, in this case, it just led to her identification, and maybe you didn't catch the perpetrator, but you never know when one of these, very nuanced and specific pieces of analysis, forensic science, is going to help lead to solving a crime. And that's why it's important to continue to build upon each piece of evidence, learn how it complements the other types of evidence, the other types of analysis and forensics, and how it could help lead to more, victims getting justice. All right, that's going to wrap up part 2 for number 5 through 10, specifically biology and human identification as it relates to our forensic masters list. If you feel like there's any other ones that I missed that are about, kind of relating to biology, feel free to comment below and let me know. I'm always looking to learn more. Thank you.